We are live. How about that? How about that? Just realized. Man, second round NBA draft. Here we are. So, looks like Rasheer Fleming is going to go at 31 to the Suns. I think that's a good pickup for them. They needed somebody with size to play the four. I think they've had a really good draft, which is weird to say for the Suns, but it seems like things are moving in the right direction for them. Let's see here. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, look. Suns get Rasheer Fleming. They got Malowach. They got Mark Williams. They got Dylan Brooks. All of a sudden, defensively, this is a much better team than it's been these past handful of years. Um, as we're waiting, for the draft to really kick off, let's spend some time, talk a little bit about, the first round of the draft yesterday. Some of the teams, there's a lot of talk about the Nets, what they did well, what they didn't do well. And I feel like I like their strategy, guys. I think I know people are ripping on it. They drafted four guys who are playmakers and can't shoot, but I think it's more of a big picture thing where they're not trying to be good this season, and they've got four guys. They maybe one hits, maybe two hit, but regardless, they're going to be bad, and they're going to be back in the lottery, and they're going to have a chance to pick a Debonsa, a Peterson, maybe a Boozer, and none of these guys will, if anything, they'll help with that. So then they got Drake Powell, who's a guy who I like, who I think can shoot a little bit, certainly spot up threes, not much more than that. But I don't know, guys. I feel like they've been. I've seen a lot of people just giving them like C minus grades. I get it. For me, it's more of a incomplete, as most grades are. I hate when people are like, "Oh, this team that was absolutely terrible," or "This team was great." Yeah, sometimes that's what we think, but a lot of times we don't know. We just don't know. Now you could feel better or worse, and you could say, "I believe, this team did well," or that team didn't do well. But to speak in absolutes and say like, "Oh, this team had a horrible draft. Why they do that?" I think is a bit much. Even the Pelicans, like I don't love their process, right? We can say I don't love the process of what they did on draft night. But if Jeremiah Fears ends up being better than what I think, and if Derek Queen ends up being better, um, and not even better, just plays to the max of his capabilities, maybe they're a better team than people think, and that pick next year isn't so much of a downer. So I think it's going to be interesting. We've got the second round kicking off here shortly, I hope. Classic, you know, basketball where they say something's going to start at 8 o'clock and they don't actually start until 8:15, 8:20. I don't know what it is with the NBA, but they're the worst at that. How many times have you guys been trying to watch a game? It says it starts at 8 o'clock and tip off isn't until like 8:12, 8:13. So I don't know why, but basketball is by far and away the worst in the sport. Looking at Jay's best available here, he's got Rasheer Fleming, Maxime Reynaud, Ryan Kalkbrenner, Adu Thero, and Chaz Lanier. And I mean, Fleming is expected to go pick 31. I think more than anything, I think them splitting up the days of the draft, first round, second round, it makes that first pick of that second round much more interesting from a trade perspective. And we've seen it be traded now, I think the past 2 years since they've started this. And there's just so much more time for a trade to happen. So it makes sense. It adds to the drama, which ultimately I think is why they did this. You've got, so talking about these five guys: Maxime Reynaud, Brian Kalkbrenner. Reynaud, he's going to give you that 3-point shooting ability. Also can score from all three levels, but he's going to have to focus on the 3-point shooting aspect of his game. I didn't love him defensively at Stanford. With that being said, I do think with a lesser workload, I think he could be better, because at Stanford, he just had to do so much for that team to do well. And Kalkbrenner, he's 23 and a half years old. He played 5 years at Creighton. This guy is a phenomenal drop coverage defender. And if he goes to the right team here, which allows him to play in that style defensively, even if the 3-point shot doesn't come around, which I admire him. Ooh, here we go. Hold on. Mark Tatum. It's Mark Tatum. Here we go. I think we're about to get this clock kicked off here any minute now. The second round, guys, I think the second round in some ways. 4 minutes, okay. A little bit better. So, look, I think the second round, in a lot of ways, yes, the first round, you've got the high-profile names, but the second round is your opportunity to really change the fortune of your team, because this is where you have the opportunity to hit on a player that you could really get way above value in terms of what you're paying them. And it doesn't necessarily have to be Nikola Jokic, right? Because that's the guy everyone thinks about. Let's look at last year's draft. This may not be a great example, but we're gonna run with it right now. And the second round picks from last year. From last year, you've got Kyle Filipowski, who had a good rookie season. You had AJ Mitchell. He had some decent minutes for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Pelle Larsson had some good minutes for the Heat. I expect him to get maybe a little bit more playing time next season. Jamal Shead had some good minutes for the Raptors there. Ariel Hukporti, the last pick of the second round, seems like a valuable selection for the New York Knicks. So there were a few guys here that helped their teams. And that's just from last year's draft. Like, let's go back one more year as we're waiting here on Rasheer Fleming to be picked. In 2023, 2020, Andre Jackson had some moments. Mohamed Gay, I think that guy really showed some promise last year for the Atlanta Hawks. G.G. Jackson. There's some guys. Jalen Clark for the Timberwolves. He showed some real promise as a defender. Trace Jackson Davis. It's not necessarily, you're most likely not going to get an all-star, right? But can you get a contributor? Especially with where we're at right now. We've got the first apron, second apron, how limiting that is with teams being able to spend on their rosters. You've got to be able to find talent on cheaper contracts. And the second round is a great place to do so. So Rasheer Fleming was 24th on my board. I think there's some value here for sure for the Suns. Again, for those of you who, well, first off, please like this video, like the stream. It helps us grow, helps us get to other people. Subscribe to the channel. Drop your thoughts and comments in the live chat. We'll be responding all night there. And I think Fleming's a good pickup because the defense and versatility that he provides. Also a really good spot up shooter, good size 6'8", 6'9" in shoes, 7'5" wingspan, 230. Now you're looking at a team. You've got Ryan Dunn from last year. You're going to add Rasheer Fleming. You've got Mark Williams and Kaman Maluach. You've added Dylan Brooks. Like, all of a sudden, very quickly here, the Suns' defensive capabilities have improved. So I like what they're doing. I do like what the Suns are doing for the first time in quite some time. I must say. But look, this is the world of the NBA, and that's where we're at right now. So, any minute here, we should be getting this pick in from the Suns. I know it says the Timberwolves, but it's going to be the Suns.
Well, the pick is in. Again, this pick is headed to the Phoenix Suns. Let's send it back to Deputy.
All right. Let's make this official.
With the 31st pick in the 2025 NBA Draft, the Minnesota Timberwolves select Rasheer Fleming from St. Joseph's University.
The Suns gave up a second rounder this year and 2 future seconds. So basically 2 future seconds to go up and get Fleming, who's a guy who I think a lot of people had first round grades on. So good move by the Suns here. So pick 32. Who could that be? As far as I know, that's still going to be the Celtics on the clock here. And man, there's a few directions they could go, but I know a lot of Celtics fans have been very interested in Ryan Kalkbrenner here. They have a need at center. He plays drop coverage. Their coaching staff has said, they think he can play some switch, maybe meet higher at the level, but I haven't seen that. They used evidence. I saw some article saying he defended against Cam Jones well, but I don't know. Cam Jones is just not the shiftiest of guards, so it's hard for me to take too much stock into that aspect. I could see, man, they got Hugo Gonzalez. They got a high energy wing, end of round 1. Which direction do the Celtics want to go? Do they want to go for another wing? Do they want a guard? Do they want a big man? I think it's got to be a big man. So I think it's got to be Ryan Kalkbrenner or Maxime Reynaud. I think those are the options right now for the Celtics. Let's see. Let's see what they decide to do here in a couple minutes. Celtics, they've done a really good job. Of getting rid of salary this offseason. The fact that they were able to pick up draft picks while dumping Jrue Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis, kudos to them. Kudos to Brad Stevens. They saved somewhere around $260 million in their luxury tax bill by doing so. And look, I think it would have been much harder for Celtics fans to accept that if Tatum doesn't get hurt. But I think it's kind of a blessing in disguise because I don't think that series against the Knicks was over, even though they were probably going to be down 3-1. There's no way you could count out that Celtics team with a healthy Jason Tatum. But without him heading into this season, there are questions, as to how much they could compete with the team led by Jaylen Brown and Derek White. Not questions in terms of can they make the playoffs. That's still a playoff team if they want to be. But do they want to be? And that's the thing. So we got Shams on.
46 and 57 in tonight's draft, as well as 2 other second-round picks in 2026 and 2027. And so tonight's pick here at 32 is Orlando. All right, so
That's a big price. That's a big price they just paid, which makes me wonder if there wasn't, I don't know, but it makes me wonder if there wasn't some competition between teams.
Do you think any team in the second round will actually make their own pick?
I wouldn't be surprised.
we're gonna run out of ink on these pens, Bob.
Okay, so it's not the Celtics anymore. It's going to be the Orlando Magic picking here. And what did Sham say? What's the details on this trade? 46 4. Why do people trade with Brad Stevens? It's like he inherited whatever voodoo magic Danny Ainge had, and it's like, just don't pick up the phone. Just don't pick up the phone. The guy never loses a trade, it seems like. You got 4 second rounders for what? I know it's 32. It's almost a first. But that's a lot of draft capital, guys. That's a lot of draft capital. That's a lot of draft capital. Who could they be going after here? The Magic. All right, let's think about this. The Magic. Ooh, the pick is in.
With the 32nd pick in the 2025 NBA Draft, the Boston Celtics select Noah Penda from Bondy, France, and Francis Lemon.
Noah Penda. Okay. I had him. All right, let's talk about Noah Penda a little bit here. I think he averaged somewhere around 12 points, 5 rebounds, over 1.5 steals per game in France for Le Mans. And I didn't get to watch full games of Noah Penda, but I know there were several people who were very high on his potential impact. Going into the NBA, he's athletic. He's 6 foot, somewhere around 6'6". He's 20 and a half years old here. This is a big swing by the Magic. The Magic have given up a lot of their future assets. I know, only 2 future seconds, but the 2 seconds tonight along with that, and all of the picks they've given up for Desmond Bane, it sure seems like the Magic see an opening. They have a lot of belief in their core, led by Banchero, Franz Wagner, Bane, and Jalen Suggs, and they are supplementing. And I like, what they did getting Jace Richardson. I think he can be a plug-and-play replacement for maybe not all of what Cole Anthony gave them, but, 70%, 80% in his rookie season, and maybe more as time moves on. But the Magic, who do you guys think? I'm curious. So next year we're going into the Eastern Conference, right? We're going into the East. We've got the Cavs, the Knicks up top, but then the Celtics and Pacers, they've got major injuries to their star players. So I'm curious, who would you guys have third is the thing I'm wondering in the East, because it was a very clear top 3 until Halliburton went down. I still think that Pacers team is deep enough to make another good run without Halliburton. Maybe not a finals run, but they could certainly win a round in the playoffs without him. Could they win more than that? Hard for me to say that. But they get the right matchup in the first round. They could win one. So after the Cavs and the Knicks, you've got, I like these young teams with the Pistons, the Hawks, and the Magic. And then you've got, where do the Celtics, the Sixers, the Bucks, these older teams that have had injuries or have injuries with the Bucks and Celtics case, how do they situate themselves next year? So this pick,
for 25. And look, they ranked second in defense last year, Jay, and adding another hard-nosed defender here.
Yeah, but I think the big thing is getting Desmond Bane. That helps their shooting because they need to score. Jace Richardson can shoot it as well. He may be small,
Yeah.
but offensively he's very gifted.
So, man, the one thing I hate about the draft is it is hard, the second round especially, to know who is drafting sometimes, guys. You're looking, you're trying to figure it out. I think right now we've got the Hornets on the clock. That's what it says at least. But is it actually the Hornets? I'm having a tough time verifying that. Let's see if anybody has some insight, drop it in the chat. Drop it in the chat. Like and subscribe, people. Like and subscribe. All right, but the Hornets, I still think it's funny, man. They draft Con Knipple, and then they go out and take Liam McNeely. And, like, if you looked at where they were rated as high school prospects, they're very similar spots at the very least. So it's just funny to me they both ended up there. They had very different college seasons. McNeely's injury definitely hurt him. But it's just funny to me. They picked both those guys. So let's see who we got coming up on from the Hornets here. Like, this Hornets team, guys, I just feel like they're the past 3-4 years. I'm like, they're due to break out. And LaMelo can't stay healthy. That's part of it. And then the other part is, like, are we sure he plays winning basketball? Like, for the past handful of years, especially the last couple, up until probably a month or two ago, 3 months ago, let's be fair, 3 months ago, there's still people having conversations like, I'd rather have LaMelo Ball than Tyrese Halliburton. I hope those conversations are buried. It's a silly debate. That's a silly debate. So, let's see who they end up picking here.
About the draft, if everybody knew he would be the number 1 pick, Kobe Bryant was the 13th pick, Steph Curry was the 7th pick,
Kevin Durant.
Dirk Nowitzki, Paul Pierce, we put out the whole thing, and we talked about guys that were second round picks, that are MVP. Nikola Jokic going to the second round, it still bothers me. Didn't you say it was drafted during a commercial?
He was
Taco Bell
drafted
commercial.
during a Taco Bell commercial. He had an all-time quote about that I'll share later, but it's time to get it back.
Here we go. Mark Tatum.
With the pick.
With the 33rd pick in the 2025 NBA draft, the Charlotte Hornets select Sion James from Duke University.
Let's go. It is Hornets. All right, thanks, Nicholas. It is. All right, confirmed. Man, all right, so we got Sion James, guys. All right, this is now there's some. Listen, guys, I'm gonna be straight up honest with you guys. When there are guys who I really know, and there's guys who I haven't seen a lot of, like we just saw with Noah Penda, right? I told you guys I didn't get a chance to watch full games. I watched every Sion James game from last season. It's pretty cool for me that he's going to be joining his old teammate, Con Knipple, on the Hornets. And Sion James has a very clear pathway here to NBA playing time, to NBA success. This guy is a really good defender. I don't think he does the best. I don't think he'll be the best at guarding quicker, smaller guards. But where I do think he'll be very successful is guarding bigger wings. Guys between like 6'5" to 6'9", even 6'10" guys. He can guard up. He can guard multiple positions, 2 through 4. He can guard, those bigger point guards. And then offensively, he's a steady decision maker. But I think his role in the NBA is going to be that of a spot-up shooter, which he's really good at. He shot 45% on his threes in the second half of the season. He really settled into that role. Really excellent corner three-point shooter. So he'll be able to knock down, the open looks that LaMelo Ball is able to create for as long as he is healthy. So Sion James was 43 on my board. A little bit of a reach here, but look, in the second round, that's not bad at all. Not bad at all. So let's see. Big C Podcast and Milo Adventures, or Milo, I apologize. Do the Spurs trade in to the second round? I don't know. I feel like probably not. I feel like they feel good. The two rookies they got last night, getting Carter Bryant and Dylan Harper. And I just feel like they're at a point where they're not trying to get too many rookies. They're trying to get better. They're trying to win more games. And so I feel like they'll kind of leave it at that. But keep bringing the questions, guys. Keep dropping the comments. I appreciate all the comments we've had so far. It's a lot of fun covering the draft here with you guys. And yeah, I mean, oof, the Hornets, they sure do have a propensity for picking guys who played their basketball in the ACC, specifically North Carolina and Duke. And I thought that was just because, when Michael Jordan was there, but he's no longer the owner and they're still doing it. So it's funny. Teams kind of build identities in terms of how they draft. And you start to get a little bit of a feel for that. We've got the Hornets here picking at 34. Again, back-to-back picks. Shout out Nicholas. And, I wonder, if I were them, this is where I would look to take more of a flyer. You got the safe guy with Sion James. Maybe you go Bogoslav Markovic, who showed some real positive signs in the, what was it, the Hoop Summit, Nike Hoop Summit, man. He looked good. So I could see that making some sense here. The fact they've already got 3 college players, maybe they go swing for an international guy, but in fairness, that's not their MO. That's just not their MO. How funny would it be if they take Tyrese Proctor? How funny would that be? I'm trying to see who else is. Jamir Watkins was an ACC guy. Chucky Hepburn. Maybe they go. I don't know. Let's find out. This is their last pick of the night. Oh, they're showing Elijah Martin. I'm glad Elijah Martin got a green room invite. I'm curious if all these second rounders are going to go. I hope so. I really hope so. I hope for these guys that they get to have their moment. Because how cool is it? You get to walk up on the stage, take your picture. For some of the guys taken in the second round, they may not even play in the NBA. Now, not this early, but those late second rounders, they may not. And so this is their moment. And we got to remember that sometimes as fans. Like, these are people. These are people, too, at the end of the day. Spurs could look for a 2-way contract player. Yeah, for sure. I just wonder, though, if the Spurs are going to do that, like, could they just do that with an undrafted guy? Because I feel like there's going to be some undrafted players today where the discrepancy between them and a second rounder in terms of their ability isn't too much. So that's something that I think I'll be keeping my eye on, is who are some of these undrafted guys. 2 guys in particular for me that I'm going to be watching, whether they're drafted tonight or not, are Chucky Hepburn and Brooks Barnhizer, who were not invited to the Combine. Here we go.
NBA draft, the Charlotte Hornets select Ryan Kalkbrenner from Creighton University.
Kalkbrenner, baby. Kalkbrenner. Good pickup. They just traded Mark Williams. There's certainly questions as to who's going to be their center for the Hornets, moving forward here. But Kalkbrenner, guys, I think is a little underrated here. A little underrated. Not a lot. Just a little. I had him at 31. But I just think Kalkbrenner, he's ready to play right away. Now, the one thing I will say in terms of team fit, I don't love the team fit for Kalkbrenner here at 23 and a half years old. The reason being is one thing I was consistent about is with the way he defends, and he's very impactful. You need guards and wings who can really defend, on the perimeter. And with who I expect to be playing for them, LaMelo Ball is not great. Josh Green's pretty good. Khan, he's not a great perimeter defender by any means. Sion James is pretty good, but I don't expect him to get a ton of minutes. Brandon Miller is all right. Miles Bridges is all right. They've got their first round pick from last year, Tijan Salouat, who I expect to be better. He's very raw. He certainly had a rough rookie season. By the way, they've got a picture. I think that's Bryce Williams from Nebraska instead of Sion James. ESPN's graphic department is not off to a good start here, the second round, but that's all right. The other thing with Kalkbrenner, last year he started to expand his game. Shooting, last couple of years I should say, shooting more threes. So, that's something to keep in mind with Kalkbrenner, and how he progresses here, as an NBA player. The Sixers are on the clock. The Sixers, they got to keep adding depth. I wonder if they're going to be able to keep Quentin Grimes, because some part of me wonders if that BJ Edgecombe pick was kind of a hedge for, what if the Nets give Quentin Grimes a really big offer sheet and the Sixers decide it's not worth matching. So I think they got to continue to add depth to their team. I think Adu Thiero makes a lot of sense here. Gives them some young legs. A guy who I do think can be a below average to average three-point shooter, which I know doesn't sound great, but because of his defensive capabilities, his ability to play in the open floor, I think would add good depth to this Suns team. He's the highest rated player on my board by a little bit here. I know some people soured on him. He didn't play, the last 10, 12 games of the season for Arkansas. But, man, every time I watched him play, I like the way certain guys compete. And Thiero was one of those guys, 21-year-old forward, junior. That would be the pick if it were me for the Sixers. You could also look at Jamir Watkins, Chaz Lanier. I'm not sold about Chaz Lanier just because he's only 6'4". Maybe they go Markovic here. Reynaud, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if I love the fit, but at the same time, Reynaud might be better than Drummond if they lose Yabusele, who Drummond's kind of like an empty stats kind of guy at this point. I don't know if he was really much more than that when he was on Detroit, come to find out. But we're 4 picks in here. We've got, I guess there's only 29 picks in the second round this year, so we got 25 to go. We're plugging along. Interesting. Okay. Pick is in. The pick is in, guys. Pick is in. What's Windhorse talking about?
This window only has been accentuated by the injuries.
What?
Also. Wouldn't surprise me if they draft a player here that they hope they can help them right away.
I will say Daryl Morey said after his availability yesterday that Joel Embiid, he's expected to be ready to go here.
What do you guys think about ESPN's coverage so far? Over the draft.
I want to see the stars play, right? We all want to see these guys play, especially in a diminished now.
I feel like it could be better. And I've kind of just felt that about ESPN's coverage of late. I just feel like I feel like their second round team is in some ways better than their first round team. It's a little bit strange to me. I like having Bobby Marks up there. Bobby's great. You can learn a lot from Bobby Marks about how the NBA operates. All right, Mark Tatum's back.
With the 35th pick in the 2025 NBA Draft, the Philadelphia 76ers select Janai Broom from Auburn University.
Wow. Well, there's your Joel Embiid backup. Janai Broom. Well, listen, guys. This was one of the 3 best, as it turned out, college players last year. The whole debate last year was who's the best player in college basketball, Cooper Flagg or Janai Broom? And by the end of the year, so I feel like the answer may have been Walter Clayton. But look, Janai Broom was a fantastic player for Auburn. He was the best player in one of the best teams in college basketball. He's 23 years old. He's 6'9", 250, 7-foot wingspan. The thing with Janai, he averaged a lot of blocks per game, but the thing you gotta, if you didn't watch, the thing for me that's important is while he did average like 2.5 blocks per game, Auburn would play a lot of times with the guy who he just passed the ball to, Dylan Cardwell, at center. Not the whole game. There were certainly plenty of minutes with Janai Broom at center. But there's a reason for that, and that's because, well, Cardwell, number one, is a tremendous defender who I expect to, get some run in the Summer League Summer League? Yeah, Summer League this year. Maybe even latch on as a two-way guy. But there's a little bit of a concern for me. Broom's ability to defend in space wasn't great. And his jumper, guys, that's the real big concern. Not a good free throw shooter, not a three-point shooter. But, he is a guy who, he's a really good scorer. He can pass. He's a smart player. He showed a lot of toughness with the way he played at the end of the season. I mean, I don't know how much of last year he was dealing with injuries. So, am I going to say it's a great pick by the Sixers? No, but is it a bad pick? No, I have him 38th on my big board, so I think the value is just. I'm going to be right back, guys. I got to just get some water here. All right, we're back. We're back, baby. Here we go. Mark Tatum.
With the 36th pick
Oh, we're moving.
2025 NBA draft, the Brooklyn Nets select Adu Thero from the University of Arkansas.
There he goes to the Lakers. Trade to the Lakers. Great trade by the Lakers, guys. Thanks, Big C. Thanks, Big C. Shout out to you for subscribing. Appreciate you, my guy. Appreciate you. All right. Yeah, we're going to be covering. Look, Adu Thero, guys, to the Lakers. Really good pickup. That's a great pickup. Best pick of the second round so far. I think he fits in perfectly for what they need. An athletic forward who can play off the ball, guard. The other team's better perimeter players. Let's see what the Lakers had to give up here. Sometimes Shams, he just gives you a little, tease, right? He'll say they acquired the pick, but he won't tell you. He won't tell you exactly, what they gave up for it. And we know he knows. So, yeah. But I think this is a great pickup by the Lakers here, getting a Dude Thero. Tremendous value on my board here. Had him 21st overall. And he's just going to bring defense, athleticism. I think the shot will play up, playing off of Luka and LeBron. And they need depth. They need depth, guys. We know. Now you can argue about he's 6'6", 220, 7-foot wingspan. Just a home run selection in the second round here. I know the Lakers need a center, but they, JJ, rightfully or wrongfully, he didn't have faith. He did not have faith in his bench. He played his starters the entire second half. And I'm not saying Thero is going to be a guy he trusts right away, but he could be by the end of the year. And he fits in, with what they're trying to build around Luka with these 3-and-D defensive type wings. And Big C, I really liked Dude Thero. I liked what he was able to do for Kentucky last year with that team, with the two small guards who were a ton of fun in Shepard and Dillingham. And we're moving, guys. The 37th pick is in. Now look, based off history, if this pick is revealed during a commercial break, this could be an MVP. So you've got to pay special attention to who the Pistons are going to take if it's revealed during the commercial break here. Pistons, man. Pistons, fantastic year last year, tripling their win total from the year before. I think based off of, what the rumors are, who they're trying to get in free agency, they're rumored to be going to try to lure in a Miles Turner, a Naz Reid. So in the event that they're not able to get one of those two guys, I think Maxime Reynaud makes a lot of sense. They're looking for a shooting big who can space the floor for them. He's not perfect. The defense isn't perfect, but he can give them that spacing offensively that they're looking for. And in the second round, you're not going to get a perfect player. There's a reason they're available in the second round. I think Maxime Reynaud would make a lot of sense here for the Detroit Pistons. Yeah, Big C, if you're talking about Maxime, he sure did. He sure did have a great combine. I moved him up my board a bit from his combine performance. I thought it was a really smart decision by him and his reps to play really well in game 1 and then shut it down for game 2. Because there's nothing to gain. There's just nothing to gain. Look at Tahad Pettiford. Tremendous first game. Really bad second game. Ends up going back to Auburn. I'm not saying that's the only reason he ended up going back to Auburn. I thought Tahad Pettiford could have been a guy who's picked in this year's draft. Instead, he goes back to Auburn to a completely different team. And here we go. The pick is in. The Pistons have selected. Are they telling us? Or is it just loading? You guys seeing this too? Chaz Lanier. Chaz Lanier, guys. Good player. Just a good player. Tough player. 23 and a half years old. Wing. 5th-year senior. Took over for Dalton Connect as the scoring shooting guard for Tennessee, surrounded by a ton of defense, and did so really well. Did an awesome job for Tennessee. Tremendous shooter. A truly elite shooter. There's not many elite shooters. Chaz Lanier is one of those guys. A solid team defender. Not a great defender. Solid team defender. Not a playmaker. But this makes sense because you look at, their team from last year. They had 3 really important veterans. Dennis Schroeder, Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway Jr. I don't think they're keeping all 3. I know they're going for continuity. It's just going to be tough to keep all 3. The priority is certainly Malik Beasley. And then I think after that, it's probably, in my opinion, Schroeder because of his ability to play on the ball. And so I think Lanier can replace some of what you would lose. Obviously not all because he's a rookie. but some of what you lose from a Tim Hardaway Jr. So I like what they're doing here. The Pistons under Trajan Langdon, have been they're operating at a different level now. They sure are. Yeah, I think so too, Big C. I think Reynaud's gonna have a really solid NBA career. I don't know if he's gonna ever be a starter, but I sure see him as a guy who's gonna play 8 to 10 years, be a rotation player. And the one thing about going back to Reynaud, I don't know about you, but I was really impressed with his interviews, the way he carries himself. He's just a really mature guy. Obviously, the talk, with him playing chess with Wemby, those guys growing up together. So he's an impressive young man, and the guy doesn't speak English as his first language. You would never know. So I think it's funny, and he told the story during the combine about him struggling with his English when he first got here. So I think as somebody who taught myself another language, Spanish, like just having that understanding of how difficult that can be for somebody to have to communicate in a second language says a lot about his intelligence and his ability to adapt, moving into the NBA. Oh, the Spurs do have a pick. The Spurs, my bad, Big C. The Spurs are picking right now. No, this is going to the Pacers. My bad. You're right. Let's see, Mark Tatum.
Cam Jones from Marquette University.
Cam Jones. Man, Cam Jones, this is a guy who I thought could have gone at the end of the first round. But look, there's not much separating these guys. Early second round, late first this year especially. I did think like next year, one of my goals with my board is to get, arbitrary but grades on these guys so I can kind of have a good feel for, tiers and whatnot. But Cam Jones is a guy who I think really showed last year. He's not just a scorer. He can make plays for his teammates. He's a guy who can score from all three levels. He's got good size, 6'3", 6'4", and he went from a scoring guard to a guy who was a triple-double threat last year after Tyler Kolek left. So I think that says a lot about his ability to adapt to different roles. That's going to be really important. Yes, trade to the Pacers. Thanks, Big C. And it's going to be really important going to the Pacers because depending on who they have out there at any given time, he may be more in an off-ball role. Now I'm not so sure he's going to be great there, but I also think part of the reason his shooting numbers were down was he just had to be a lot more on-ball. He didn't have somebody like Kolek setting him up. Now he could be on a team eventually with a guy like Halliburton, and that could be an awesome pairing, especially, as we move down the line. I know Nembhard. What's Nembhard's contract? I know they gave him an extension last year, but maybe over time Nembhard's a guy who 3-year, $60 million extension last year. When's that run to? Oh, it starts this year, so never mind. That's gonna be the only way maybe they look to move him in a year or two is if they are running up against that luxury tax. Like I could see them having to move on from a guy like Obi Toppin, maybe even this summer if they and as great as Obi was for them, because they're going to want to pay Miles Turner. So the salary cap has a lot to do with how we look at the draft. Oh, that's his brother. That looks like a cool kid. Big C. Some mocks had him mocked to the Spurs at this position. Oh, that's interesting. So he ends up going in the same spot, just different team. Huh. So far, I don't know about what you guys think, but theme of the draft for me is it's been a lot more college players than the last couple of years, I feel like, overall. So far tonight, the second round, what have we had? We've had Noah Penda, Is that the only international guy so far? Yeah, Noah Penda. That's it so far in the second round. In the first round, all right, Yegor Demin. Yegor Demin, yeah, he would have been international. And Noah Senge was actually international. Hansan Yang or Yang Hansan. I always get that mixed up. Joan Berenger 3, Nolan Traore 4. Yakuchonis is a guy who would have been international but wasn't. Who else? Ben Saraf 5, Hugo Gonzalez 6. So 6 of the 30 were international. But then when you really think about it, you also have Kasparas Yakuchonis, Yegor Demin, who also, so it could have been 8, and that kind of makes a difference in terms of how you view, the international players. And I think this trend with these guys coming over and playing college ball is just going to accelerate. The amount of guys, I'm going to be covering college team previews, as we get into the summer here, and it's like every team has got a player from Europe who's coming over, or Australia, at least one. Some teams like Illinois, it's like the entire Baltic region is going to Illinois. So it's a very interesting theme. Yeah, Big C, they've got some decisions to make. Let's see who the Raptors pick here.
Elijah Martin from the University of Florida.
Shout out Elijah Martin. Man, this is way earlier than I thought he would go, though. I gotta be honest. I gotta be honest with that. I like Elijah Martin. Don't get me wrong, but this is earlier than I thought he would go. Let me update the big board here. Cam Jones, Chaz Lanier. Yeah, I had Elijah Martin 53. I guess in fairness, I do like him more in retrospect than, man, I guess I probably would have had him 46. Yeah, just behind Proctor in retrospect. But he's 23 and a half years old. Let's talk about Martin. 23 and a half years old, a winner. One of a handful of players ever to go to a Final Four with two different teams, with it being him being on the FAU team with John L. Davis and Vladislav Golden, who I think is worth a pick in the second round here. He's a guy who really helped this Florida team. They do not win the national championship without him. I know Walter Clayton's the star, but Martin was essential. His ability to defend, shoot the three, be dynamic in the open court. Like, some of the dunks that Elijah Martin had were just ridiculous. He's a tremendous athlete. He's got an awesome wingspan. The comp, guys. Hold on. For me, the comp for Martin, he's a little bit older. I don't know if he'll quite reach the same ceiling when he's drafted. But the comp for me, I actually think he's a better athlete. But maybe not. Well, all right, I'm just going to say it. Deuce McBride, Miles McBride, very similar measurables. They are wings and guard bodies, guard height. But they've got wingspans, if that makes sense. And the Raptors, very interesting draft with Martin and Colin Murray-Boyles. Getting guys who've got, tremendous wingspans, defensive players. They clearly have a strategy there. Last year picking up Mogbo. Not sure how you pronounce his name. It was like a 6'6" center. So, Ujiri, listen, if nothing else, he's a man with a plan. So, we are, 9 picks in here to the second round. We're up to pick 40. This pick is going to the Pelicans as part of the CJ McCollum, Jordan Poole trade. which I thought was a good trade for the Wizards and a confusing trade for the Pelicans, who, if nothing else, guys, they've had a strange offseason here. I hope it works out for them. You know, I'm a Duke fan. I love Zion. But this is I don't know about their future, you know, moving forward. It does not look great. Hopefully it works out. Let's see who they draft here. A minute 20 seconds until they pick. Minute 15. Reynaud still on the board. Proctor still on the board. Kobe Brea still on the board. Who are some other guys? Jay Billis is best available here. John Tonje, Alex Tui, Will Richard. Will Richard, guys, I think he's worth a pick. If not a pick, he's a two-way contract, you know, guy like Big C was talking about before. Maybe he's a guy the Spurs go get. Big C, who's your team? Drop it in the chat. All right. Reynaud is the best available guy for me by a little bit at this point. I thought he would be drafted late first, so I'm a bit surprised he's still available. I'm honestly a bit surprised at how these bigs have been drafted overall. I thought Sorber and who was the other guy? Behringer went about where I thought they would. I thought Malawach slid. And I think I should say Reynaud is sliding too far. And I just think there's a real value in bigs. We saw it in the playoffs. So I'm just surprised to see what's going on based off of the playoffs. All right. This pick should be coming in here soon. Micah Peavy. Okay. I actually like this pick. You know, my concern with Micah is the shooting. I'm worried about his shooting. But second round pick, I think it makes sense. You know, take a swing on a guy who's a tremendous defender, can make plays for his teammates. Somewhat, he is a little bit turnover prone. Tremendous defender. If he could shoot, it'd be awesome. So you are a Spurs fan. Yo, Big C, I mean, the Spurs are really well positioned. Moving forward. If Wemby can be healthy, which I really hope, you know, what happened with him with the deep vein thrombosis, if I'm remembering correctly. Like, I just want to see that guy have a real opportunity with his career, because he just, not only is he a tremendous player, but he seems to just be a tremendous person. Like, how cool has it been watching what he's been doing, like, with the monks? He's got a shaved head. He's doing the whole, you know, training over there. Like, seems like a great person. And for how good he is already, the sky's the limit for that guy. And I love with how they're surrounding him. Stephon Castle, Dylan Harper. I like Champagnie. I like Devin Vassell. Sohan is good. Like, there's just a lot of young talent. Obviously, you got De'Aaron Fox. Like, this Spurs team, very quickly, very quickly could challenge if Wembanyama stays healthy. Like this could be a second round team next year. I really do think so, even in the loaded Western Conference. All right, all right. This is fun. This is fun. Ton draft. All right, so this pick is supposedly going to the Suns. Supposedly going to the Suns. Is it going to the Suns? Did the Suns trade this pick though? Wait a second. Hold on, hold on. So Lakers got their new owner, right? And we can already tell that's making a difference. And here's why. They trade from 55 to 45 with cash. And then they trade from 45 to 36 also with cash. So their new owner clearly is making a mark immediately. And they said, this is no longer going to be run like a family operation. They've got real money now, and that seems to be the case, right away. Right away. Micah Peavy. Yeah, a little bit of a reach here. A little bit of a reach. Man. Oh, yeah. Well, good to know. I'm really happy he'll be ready for preseason. And the one thing I didn't touch on, I love Carter Bryant. I think he's going to be a tremendous player, 3-and-D player. He would fit in really on any team. So it didn't matter to me where he went, but I think a great pickup by the Spurs to get him because they need guys like that who aren't going to necessarily need the ball, but can hit open shots and defend multiple positions. And man, they've got a few of those guys now. They sure do. They sure do. So let's see. This pick, I feel like the Suns traded this 41st pick though. Part of me is. Oh, they moved up. Okay, okay. They traded 36, 52, 59, 2 future seconds, and they have 31 and 41. So they do have this pick. Okay. Oh, shit. Huh. That's cool. All right, Suns. I like what they've done, guys. The Suns. Do I think, I don't think they're a title contender or anything, but I think for the first, I thought last year's draft they did well with what they had. This year I think they're similarly doing well. Now they are they're in a tough spot though moving forward. They just don't own their picks moving forward. Good to get the 10th pick back. I love Malawach. I think he's gonna be a tremendous player. And if he's not doesn't reach his ceiling, which I think could be like second option on a title team, he's gonna be a good rim running, rim protecting center. He'll be a lob threat on one end and block shots on the other.
The Golden State Warriors select Kobe Brea from the University of Kentucky.
Yeah, another good pickup, guys, by the Suns. Now, one thing I want to say about Kobe Brea, He's one of the best shooters in this year's draft. Just pure out and out shooters, one of the best. And I really think Kobe Brea is going to play, similar to like we were talking about with Maxime Reynaud, 8 to 10 years NBA. The one concern, though, I do have with Kobe Brea is this guy an 82 game player or a 16 game player? And I worry about his defense in the playoffs. I think he's an 82 game guy who will help you win games in the regular season, but in the playoffs, I feel like he could be targeted. And yeah, I could see Carter Bryant being the steal of draft. It's funny how often that happens where guys don't work out for teams and they end up picking them. I just wonder how much of that is like the gamesmanship of the draft. I see what you're saying. Man. How, there's been a lot of people. I think that's his mom. I don't remember this when I was younger, but I feel like as I've gotten older, there's been a lot more, tears shed at the draft than I remember when I was younger. And I wonder if it's because it's, become a little bit more acceptable to cry here. But I just, from players, from their parents, just seems to, and nothing wrong with it. I'm not saying anything wrong with it. I just don't remember it happening as often. But gotta be happy for these guys on their draft nights here. Kings are on the board here next. Kings, man. God, that team had so much promise a couple of years ago. In some ways, I guess. In some ways, a team led by Fox and Sabonis, like how far could they have really gotten? But they have completely unraveled. And they've turned into the Bulls from a couple of years ago. Just, how do you do that? How do you do that?
We have another trade to announce. As part of a deal to be finalized later, the Minnesota Timberwolves are trading to the Phoenix Suns the draft rights to Rasheer Fleming, the 31st pick. With the 42nd pick in the 2025 NBA draft, the Sacramento Kings select Maxime Reynaud from
There we go.
and Stanford University.
Maxime J, the 7-foot Frenchman.
There we go. There goes Reynaud. Now, the only thing is, the path to playing time for Reynaud is a little bit hard to see, a little bit murky with Sabonis and Valanciunas. Is Valanciunas still under contract, or is he about to be a free agent? Is he about to be a free agent? Because if he is, then this makes a lot of sense. No. He's got a couple more years left. So, yeah, path to but next year's non-guaranteed. So, yeah, okay. I could see this. Yeah, showing him playing chess with Wemby, for sure. Knew that was going to happen. I like Reynaud. He's a very skilled big. That's where the NBA is going these days. So, by the way, Wembanyama, I think we underestimate. It's just every time I see a picture of him next to another player, it never ceases to amaze me how tall he is. He's standing next to 7 foot. What is he listed at? 7 foot, 7'1"? 7 foot, Maxime Reynaud, and he's 3-4 inches taller. And, Wembanyama can put the ball on the floor, dribble, his shooting's incredible. Just doesn't make sense how good he is. So, next, this pick is the Wizards, who they've had an interesting draft. They've been targeting, scoring wings, I would say. I'm curious if they, go for Man, I wonder who there's not a ton of value at this point. My board would say Jameer Watkins, but I don't love his fit with the Wizards. I think he's better off going to a team that's trying to win, a contender. So I just don't think that makes sense. Maybe they go Markovic here, 6'9" guy with some skill. And the Thunder on the clock again. It's just how is anybody supposed to catch them? How's anybody supposed to catch them, guys? Like, they have not only do they have a ton of picks remaining, but they do a tremendous job drafting. They're not a team that's a bad drafting team. Now there are misses like everybody, but they're a really good drafting team overall. That's a good point, Big C. That's a good point. He's definitely not 7'3". I think that's what he's listed at. He's taller than that for sure. And I think that brings me back to my point on the bigs. Like I feel like bigs, yeah, I could see him being 7'5". I feel like bigs have been a little bit undervalued in this year's draft because I think bigs are coming back, skilled, tall bigs, and you can't put a 6'7", Draymond, a 6 foot, yeah, 6'8", 6 foot, maybe 6'9", could give a guy like Wembanyama, a guy like Chet. I mean, Chet's not really he's not the same. There's a clear gap between those two guys, but you can't really get away with that. And then the other thing we saw in the playoffs was the ability for bigs who can't shoot to really impact the game with their rebounding, like Mitchell Robinson did for the Knicks, who just the Pacers had to dust off Tony Bradley just to have somebody to match up with him. So, bigs who can rebound, bigs who can shoot, bigs who are skilled. I just think bigs are coming back overall. All right. I'm definitely sticking around here, guys, until the Knicks pick at 50, and then after that, I may have to sign off. So, but this is fun. Here we go.
From Florida State University.
They did pick him.
Bobby, you are a huge fan of Jameer Watkins.
Well, I'm a huge fan of him on and off the court. He comes out in the draft last year. He decides to go back to Florida State, and I asked him why. It was because he wanted to graduate, to be the first person in his family to graduate. He's an electrifying defender. We saw him in Chicago at the combine. He had 5 steals in the first half here. Long, athletic wing. He can defend right here. Certainly going to a Washington team that needs some athleticism, and he will certainly add that to that team.
Absolutely. When he was a kid, he said he loved his game.
Washington's got a clear strategy, guys. I like teams with clear strategies. They are getting wings. You can do multiple things. And Watkins is one of the best defenders in the draft, point blank, period. and a tremendous three-point shooter. And what I like about Watkins is last year, last couple of years, frankly, for Florida State, he was the guy. And so he'll be able to, transition to being not the guy, and he's a great three-point shooter, but he has shown the ability to hit tough shots. I just think it was a good pickup, real good pickup for the Wizards. I just think though, like I would have preferred him to go to a winning team because I think his skill set could be utilized right away for a contender. Do I think he'll help the Wizards? 100%. 100%. But I just wonder, are they going to prioritize some of their other younger wings first? Hey, thanks, Big C. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. I'm trying to grow this as much as I can. This is my first year. I took some years off, like 4 years, I want to say, covering the draft, and then I've been back. This is my second year back, but last year I was like halfway back. This year I'm back. Next year, I plan to do way more. We're gonna be posting a lot. We also do we cover Duke basketball throughout the season, so there'll be college basketball, draft, and Duke focus here. So I appreciate you hopping on. So yeah, and if you got anything, any ideas, any suggestions, feel free to let me know. If you want to hop on at any point, later in the summer, you want to talk about the Spurs, let me know. Drop a message. Would love to have you on. All right. The Thunder, guys. The Thunder. I mean, man, they could go in so many directions here. I I'm curious if they're keeping this pick. It seems like they are, and if they do, are they gonna go more like draft and stash route here because there's just not much room on their roster at all. And here comes Mark Tatum.
We have another trade to announce. As part of a deal to be finalized later, the Washington Wizards are trading to the New Orleans Pelicans the draft rights to Micah Peavy, the 40th pick. With the 44th pick in the 2025 NBA Draft, the Oklahoma City Thunder select Brooks Barnhizer from
Shout out Brooks Barnhizer. Shout out OKC. Not invited to the combine. One of the guys who I was talking about earlier is the two guys not invited to the combine that I think have a real shot at being NBA players. Let's see what Jay Bills is saying.
IQ player had a foot injury this last year that really disrupted the end of his season, but he knows how to play. He's an excellent defender, really good length, and just tough as nails. Not surprised that he was drafted.
Jay, thank you for that insight. All right, now.
Yeah, Jay Bills, like I really like Brooks Barnhizer. Son of a coach. Averaged like 17, 18 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, over 2 steals, around a block per game. Filled it up across the box score. Didn't shoot it great last year, but it was like 27%, down from 34% the year before. I think he can shoot better. I just think his versatility, defensive ability. I had him 48th on my board. Honestly, some of that was because he didn't make the combine, and I think next year I might be a little bit more aggressive with where I slot some of these guys. 23 years old, 6'6", 230, really strong. Got stronger throughout his college career. 4-year player. Will he play for the Thunder? This year, probably because the Thunder seem to play everybody. They just seem to play everybody. Will he play a lot? No. He'll spend most of his time in the G League. But they just continue to get good depth and good players. Awesome to see Brooks Barnheiser go here to the Thunder. Yeah, Big C. I think you should be able to get like my email or something. It should be like on my profile on the channel. So if you want to reach out to me there, so I can get your contact information, I would love to chat. Set up a time. Do a Spurs off-season review, Spurs season preview, however you want to do it. You let me know. But just love talking hoops, love talking basketball. You're on top of things, I can tell, and it's I like covering the transactional part and the draft of the NBA, but there's nobody who knows their team more than a fan, and I know you know way more about the Spurs than I do, so it would be great to get your perspective there, especially because that's a team that I think is gonna just continue to grow and become more of a winner as time goes on here. So right now, Jay Bilas' big board, he's got Proctor at number 1. And Proctor is the last Duke player available. Is a little bit of a surprise to me. I thought he would go before Sion James. And as somebody who's a Duke fan, but also a Knicks fan, selfishly, I hope he continues to slide and the Knicks are able to pick him at 50. I don't know how much playing time he would get, but he'd be really good depth for the Knicks there. Let's see. We got any more trades from Shams? Nothing as of now. Yeah, trades have slowed down. Trades have slowed down. I wonder this year, it feels like a lot of the offseason has been front-loaded. We've got, the big trades, Kevin Durant, Desmond Bane, who else? Porzingis, Drew Holiday, even some smaller trades like CJ McCollum. Like, a lot of stuff has happened already. Draft night trades. Like, I wonder if we're going to get... I feel like if there's going to be a big trade, like a Giannis trade or maybe a Jaylen Brown trade to the Spurs, which I'm not so sure is going to happen, but I feel like those trades would happen later on this summer with the draft, working its way to its conclusion. Free agency, coming up here. Let's see who are the top free agents as we wait for the Bulls pick here. Try to find a good tracker. All right, we'll save that thought. The Bulls are on the clock. Their pick is in.
As part of a deal to be finalized later, the Golden State Warriors are trading to the Phoenix Suns the draft rights to Kobe Bryant, the 41st pick. With the 45th pick in the 2025 NBA Draft, the Chicago Bulls select Rocco Zikarsky from Sunshine Coast, Australia, the NBA Global Academy in Australia, and Brisbane Bullets of the NBL.
Rocco
Zikarsky was once, Jonathan, the youngest player in the NBL's Next Stars program history.
Malika, he's still pretty young. He's only 18 years old. NBA Global Academy product. He has incredible size at 7'4" with a 9'7" standing reach. He can practically dunk without jumping, which also gives him significant potential on the defensive end. He's shown some flashes of stretch potential. He'll need to improve his ability to cover ground in space, make quicker decisions, but he's going to be the third tallest player in the NBA after Zach Edey and Victor Wembanyama. Third?
Huh. Yeah, Zikarsky I saw a little bit of. I can't say I saw a ton on Zikarsky. Shout out to you, my friend Big C. Would love to. Make sure you reach out. It's been great. I'm very happy you've been here. You've made it a lot more fun for me. So shout out to you. On Zikarsky, watch a little bit of him. Something I got to be better at next year is trying to watch these international guys live because it's hard to get the tape later on for me as a solo guy. Huh. All right. Let me see. Let me see if I can get that to you. Let me see if I can get that to you. Big C. Oh, well, to be honest, I'll just put it in the chat. I'll just drop it in the chat for you. That's my email. You can reach out to me anytime, my friend. So Zakarsky, like they were saying, very tall, 7'3". Not extremely, fluid, I would say, but he's very young, 18 years old. As they said, one of the younger players. Great size from Australia. Not a ton more information I can give you guys, other than the fact that I think people were hoping from his first year to his second year in the NBL for a little bit more of a jump, and it didn't happen. And I think that's part of the reason he is still available at this point in the draft, where maybe a year ago, he could have been drafted higher. Could have been drafted higher. So let's go back. Let's go back to free agency. I'm curious if I can find a good tracker here. All right, let's just talk about some of these top guys. You've got Amari Williams. Okay. Amari Williams drafted during a commercial. You never know. Amari Williams. Let's talk about him. Amari is a guy transferred over from Drexel to Kentucky. Was the defensive player of the year in the CAA. Had a good year for Kentucky. Provided some solid defense, although it wasn't the same defensive player in terms of stats that he was at Drexel for Kentucky. Not a shooter, decent finisher inside, a good passer. But the one thing that works against Amari Williams is that he struggles with pressure. When guys pressure the ball, he does not react well. He can turn the ball over kind of frequently, and so it's one of those things where I feel like his best ability as a big is his passing ability, but he needs space to be able to make those passes. And the fact that he can't shoot, I think, will provide some of that space. But at the same time, if guys are just not guarding him, how does that fit in? But he can defend and he can pass. So, as a mid to late second rounder, this makes sense. This makes sense to take a flyer on Amari here. Where'd I have Amari? 71. Yeah, I did not expect Amari to be drafted. I got to be real about that. Did not expect him to be drafted. But in hindsight, I did think about doing a draft profile on him, and I did not. So I regret that at this point. Oh, what's Shams talking about?
Sharon, yeah, hi, Shams.
Hey Malika, I'm told Giannis Antetokounmpo is closely observing the Bucks draft here tonight and then free agency next week. And what moves can this organization make to elevate the team? They've got a bunch of free agents here: Bobby Portis, Gary Trent Jr., Brooke Lopez, Kevin Porter Jr. Bucks general manager John Horst and his staff have been aggressive over the years, making creative moves time and time again. But this offseason, they've got one first-round pick, a few second-round picks to play with. And Giannis Antetokounmpo has been open-minded about his best fit moving forward. He spent 12 years there. There's a level of equity there that he has in Milwaukee. But he has said publicly he wants to compete for a second championship. And so what moves can the Bucks...
And the way Shams is talking about Giannis here, guys, is very reminiscent to... It's funny, when Lillard ended up leaving the Trailblazers, where Lillard was evaluating what they did in the draft, in free agency. They bring back his guy, Jeremy Grant, and he's like, yeah, not enough. I got to go. It's time to leave. And then they end up, trading him. All right. Pick is in for Milwaukee. Bogolyub Markovic. Good value here. Good value for the Bucks. I'm trying to remember who they picked in the first round. Or did they not have a pick? I feel like they did not have a pick. I don't know what.
Declared for the 2024 NBA draft, later withdrew his name, and he's now seeing that
Maybe they did.
off here, Jonathan. He was a member of the U18 Serbian team that won the gold medal at the 2023 FIBA U19 European.
All right, a couple more picks until the Knicks, and then probably sign off here. Man, they got him listed at 6'10" and a half. I only had him at 6'9". That's actually a big difference. That changes. To me, at 6'9", he's more of a 4. At 6'10" and a half, he can certainly play the 5. His shooting ability was really impressive at the Hoop Summit. This is great value. I think for the Bucks to get him here. Yeah, him and Watkins. Watkins I thought was good value, although maybe I didn't love the team fit just because I selfishly wanted Watkins to go to more of a winner. Oh, Kobe Bray is off the board. Sikarsky. All right. We got a few more picks to go here. I got you, Big C. I see you on Instagram. We'll connect there. Javon Small going at 48 here to the Grizz. Some people really like Javon Small. I didn't get to watch a ton of him at West Virginia. I mean, no pun intended, but smaller guard, 6'2", good score. Played at a bunch of different schools. Did it at he clearly could perform in different environments. So, that's something we can definitely say for Small. Now, let's go back here. While I'm waiting, this pick is going to the Grizzlies. Yeah, interesting. Another small guard for them. They've got Ja Morant. They've got Scottie Pippen. I don't know. But, late in the second round, you just go for value. You're just going for value. Josh Giddey, in terms of free agents, he's restricted. Jonathan Kuminga, Naz Reid, Malik Beasley, Santi Aldama, restricted. Cam Thomas, restricted. Kelly Oubre, Brook Lopez, Bob Portis, Levert, Capella, Mo Wagner, Quentin Grimes. There's some interesting guys out there. Horford, Gary Trent. Pick is in. Pick is in. All right, Cavs and then the Knicks, baby. Cavs and then the Knicks. Cavs. Who we got? Who we got? Tyrese Proctor. Oh, I mean, good for him. I think that it's a good situation for Tyrese. Happy for him, but selfishly wanted a real win-win with him potentially going to the Knicks. Um, but look, the Cavs easily could lose one of, if not both of, Ty Jerome and Sam Merrill if those guys get better offers elsewhere, and they need a cheap replacement. So I think it's a good pickup for them. I really think Proctor, number one, he gives them size at the guard spot, which they really lack with their smaller guards, with Garland and Mitchell, even though he's got a tremendous wingspan. He's a great athlete. So, yeah, I think Proctor can play on and off the ball. He showed this year he's better off the ball, but he's got a little bit of wiggle to him on the ball. The thing about Proctor that I think is very underrated is his ability to defend, and specifically his ability to take away space from those quicker, smaller guards who can create separation. He does a really good job just taking away the airspace. He doesn't average a ton of steals, like less than a steal per game, but what he does do is just frustrate the opposing player, and a lot of times he makes other players have off performances. And then offensively, he's a tremendous spot-up shooter. Tremendous spot-up shooter who can also shoot off the dribble as well. And he's 6'5", 6'7" wingspan. He's still 20, 21 years old. He's still got plenty of room to grow after 3 years at Duke because he went there a year early. So. All right. Let's see the Knicks draft, and then unfortunately, guys, I gotta sign off. But it's been fun hanging out with you, Big C, and whoever else has been, popping in and out here throughout the night. The second round, I like the second round, guys. It's you never know. You just never know. The first round, there's a lot more certainty to an extent. You have a better feeling for guys, but this is where I feel like the rubber meets the road and you can get some true steals. I wonder who the Knicks are going to go for here now. Let's see. Do they go for the local product? Do they take RJ Lewis? They could use a little bit of depth on the wing, but he's not a great shooter, so I don't know if that's going to make sense. Do they go... Man, there's not a lot of great options here. They go... I don't know. I'm looking at my board. I really don't know. Grant Nelson, maybe. John Tonje. I wonder if they go to the local product, RJ Lewis. He's the most talented player. I know people really soured on him after his last game, but you gotta look at the total body of work, and he had a tremendous season. I really like him. Spike Lee, Spike's there. He's been there the whole time. Shout out to Spike Lee showing up for the second round of the draft. That's a true fan right there. Pick is in. Pick is in. All right. This could be my last pick. I gotta sign off after this one. Yeah, Proctor. I agree, Big C, man. He can really shoot the ball. The only thing, even as a Duke fan, sometimes those free throws, the free throw shooting should be better from him. Here we go. Mark Tatum.
With the 50th pick in the 2025 NBA Draft, the New York Knicks select Kobe Sanders from the University of Nevada.
Kobe Sanders.
Kobe Sanders, the first player drafted out of Nevada since Jalen Harris in 2020, Jay.
He started his career at Cal Poly, played 4 years there, and you'd probably call him a late bloomer, but Kobe Sanders has good size.
Kobe Sanders. Honestly, didn't watch any of Kobe Sanders. Was he even? I feel like he's on my board. Probably pretty low. Is he even on my board? I may have missed this one, guys. I may have dropped the ball.
Spike, you can stand up again. Kobe Sanders actually got traded to the Los Angeles Clippers. So the 50th overall pick is now to the Clippers. Obviously just went. So the Knicks have traded Kobe Sanders to the Clippers.
All right, Kobe Sanders now on his way.
Kobe Sanders is not a Knick. Take it back. We take it back. We take it back. All right. Are they picking now? All right. Well, we may be hanging out for one more pick. What? Like, who did they trade? Or what did they trade, rather? I bet it was just cash. I bet it was just cash. All right. Knicks. I mean, if they got a future second rounder to move back one pick, that's a great trade. But I would imagine it's just cash. Ooh, yeah, maybe Golden, but I think the Knicks, like, they got Huckporty, who I like last year.
Actually, the New York Knicks' pick. So we saw 50, 51 swap. Essentially, still trying to figure out exactly what went to the Knicks for this swap. I'm sure some consideration of cash. So Spike, you can stand back up.
Who was it? Who was
Yeah, I don't mind the idea of Golden. I'm trying to remember. So actually, the more I think about it, yeah, Golden makes sense. I think he's the best player available. And yeah, they've got Huckporty, they've got Robinson, but I think they're probably gonna let Achua walk. So yeah, I think it makes sense to go get another big, especially. I guess it depends a little bit on, does the next coach, oh, there's Kobe Sanders. I didn't get a ton of tape on him. Next coach want to play Cat more at the 4 or the 5. If he wants to play him more at the 4, you probably want to get another center. If he's going to play more at the 5, you probably don't need another center. Although you may actually need one because Mitchell Robinson is not going to play 80 games. He's just not. So, yeah, I like it. I like it. Big C, man. Golden, I'm in for that. And I'm also in for RJ Lewis. Those are the two I think that I would be happy about right here. So, Knicks got a little bit of cash. Which player are you talking about, Big C? Golden or Lewis?
With the 51st pick in the 2025 NBA Draft, the LA Clippers select Mohamed Diawara from Paris, France, and Francis Cholet Basket.
Mohamed on his way here to the New York Knicks. He was actually an early entrant in the 2020 NBA draft, but withdrew, and now here's his name called in the second round of the 2025 draft. All right, the 2025 NBA draft second round will be
Mohamed Diawara, real quick, played for Cholet. There's been some players recently from there. 6 points a game, 3 rebounds. Not a ton to write home about here. I see this guy as a stash. I don't think he's coming over. I don't think he's coming over next year. He's 20 years old. I see him more as a stash. So, with that, Big C, I appreciate you hanging out with me here. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. We're gonna be pumping out basketball content all year long. So we're gonna keep growing. And for all you guys who want to join us, we're on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, as you found out, Big C. Trying to, Twitter, X, maybe a little bit there, a little bit here. And yeah, always looking for contributors, people who want to join. Maybe one day I'll start up a blog as well. Until next time, peace.